Communication in marriage is definitely a big challenge for many moms, especially since after having kids, it seems like we have so much less time to actually communicate. And then when we do, it all comes spilling out, and not always in the most beneficial way. There are many different kinds of obstacles in communication. Sometimes our communication obstacles look like huge blowouts every time we try talking about certain topics. And sometimes it looks like someone just brushing under the carpet some of the things that are sitting on our heart. Today, we are going to learn the basics of nonviolent communication and make it very practical so that you could start implementing it today and changing the way you communicate. But nonviolent communication gives us so much more than just a communication tool. It also changes the way you see yourself and everyone around you. Hey, and welcome to the New Mama Marriage Bliss Show. I want to help you get out of the overwhelming distance and guide you to reconnect to yourself and to your husband. You know you want things to be different, but you're probably not sure how to make it happen. Well, Mama, you're in the right place. Here we will dive into all the things you need to start loving your life and relationship and start living like soulmates and not roommates anymore. We will dive into motherhood, marriage, communication, holistic inspiration, and practical hacks and tips. Mama, I believe that transformation and deep connection await you. Hi, I'm Aliza Saeed, proud mama and grateful wife, and the Mama Marriage Coach. You too can turn your mess into magic. Come on, Mama, and let's do it together. Hi there, moms, and welcome back to the New Mama Marriage Bliss Show. I'm Aliza Saeed, the Mama Marriage Coach, and I'm so happy you're here. If you're new here, welcome. And as I say every time, if you're not new, welcome back. Before we start today, I just want to remind you that I still have a few coaching slots available. So if you know and you feel in your heart that you need a change in your relationship and you want to reconnect with your husband and live with connection and joy and love, I'd love to guide you there. So DM me if this interests you on Instagram or Facebook, or send me an email and we could check out if it's a good fit for you. So let me know. All right, let's get into it today. So today we are going to be talking about nonviolent communication. But what is nonviolent communication? Maybe some of you have heard of it, maybe others have not. Nonviolent communication is really a whole world. It's a whole new language, and it really is a way of life. Today, we are just going to be talking about the basics of nonviolent communication, but just so we understand a little bit of what it is, I am quoting from the Center of Nonviolent Communication. With nonviolent communication, we learn to hear our own deeper needs and those of others. Through its emphasis on deep listening to ourselves as well as others, nonviolent communication helps us discover the depth of our own compassion. This language reveals the awareness that all human beings are only trying to honor universal values and needs every minute, every day. End of quote. Nonviolent communication was founded by Marshall Rosenberg and is taught in over 200 countries. Today, we are going to be learning just the tip of the iceberg, the really basic part of nonviolent communication, or NVC as it's called many times. But I highly recommend you going deeper into it. There's even on YouTube the Marshall Rosenberg original workshops that you could listen and really be able to step into this whole new world of nonviolent communication. So let's imagine that there's this nice couple who finally have a babysitter and they're ready to go out on their date night. Now they decided they were going to be out of the house by 8:30 so that they would be able to have a full night, and they were really excited. They had already planned their whole night. Let's call them Tim and Tammy. So Tim is already waiting in the car. They had already greeted the babysitter, showed her where the good snacks are. All the kids are sleeping at home, and Tim is sitting and waiting for Tammy in the car. Now, it's already 8:30, 8:35, 8:40, and he's still waiting in the car for her to get there, and she's not coming. Finally, at 8:45, she finally comes into the car, sits down, okay, let's go, and she's ready to go. But Tim, who was sitting in the car and waiting for her those 15 minutes, was not really so excited about this 15-minute delay. And he looks at her and says, I don't get it. Why do you always come late? Why can't you ever be considerate of how important it is for me that we leave on time? well, I guess you could imagine that's not such a great way to start off a nice date night together. And then the blaming went from one side to the other. They started yelling at each other, all different things. Different baggage started coming up about yesterday and the day before, and well, the dishes and the garbage, and then all those things start coming up. But really, what is going on here? There's a difference, right? There's a gap in the way that these two people approach the situation. Tim was coming to the situation that it was important for him to be there on time. For Tammy, it wasn't as important. And in married life, we are going to find endless differences between us and our husband. There are so many things that are going to come up. How organized you are and how organized he is. Should you buy treats for the kids or not? How should we relate to the family? How involved should our parents be? How to fold the towels in the bathroom? Where should we live? There are endless things that can show up. Finances, intimacy, they're like those big ones that usually sit very heavily. But there are so many things that come up differently for each of us. So how do we approach it? Should we sit in the car like Tim and Tammy and start yelling at each other and blaming each other for today and for yesterday and for actually our whole marriage? Or should we be able to approach it in a more graceful, compassionate, loving, and connecting way? Of course, we all want to, but we usually don't know how to. For many of us, the automatic will consist of not only, but also blame, anger, distance, yelling, just closing up and going into my own little cave, and many other things. Many times, we really don't know how to deal with it in any other way. So nonviolent communication offers us 4 simple steps to change the way we communicate. And really, it changes who we are from the inside out. And we'll see how it does that. So the 4 simple steps are observation, feelings, needs, and requests. These steps are really guiding steps to make a conversation become a place where we discover about ourselves and about our partner, and we're able to dive deeper into what each and every one of us need and to be able to bring us closer and not just farther away. So let's go through the steps and see what exactly they are. So the first one is observation. When I want to share with my partner about something that's bothering me, instead of giving a description that is completely subjective of how I experienced it, the first thing is to just tell my partner about what's bothering me by an observation of what happened. What does an observation mean? So Marshall Rosenberg talks about giving an observation just like a camera's view. If I had a camera on my shoulder that was watching the whole thing, what would the camera see? Would the camera see you are always late? No, the camera wouldn't see it. The camera would see you came to the car at 8:45. That is the fact. That what is no interpretations, no additions, just what the camera sees. I'm taking out any of the extra baggage that I have on top of this observation. That's not part of the observation. Whatever a camera could see. Remember that. So there's no, you did like you always do, or there's no, you were inconsiderate. There's no, none of that, because it's just, again, an observation, an objective, factual observation of what happened. After I state the observation of what happened, then we go to step 2, which is feelings. Feelings is I say what it brought up for me. I'm talking only about myself. You came to the car at 8:45 and it made me feel disrespected, or it made me feel sad because I wanted us to be able to have as much time as we could together, and it made me feel sad. I shared just my feelings. I've had clients who it has really helped them to print out a bank of emotions. You can find on Google. If you want, DM me. I'll share with you ones that I have. A bank of emotions to really understand what was it that I was feeling, to exact what is the emotion you were feeling. Were you angry? Were you annoyed? Were you sad? To be able to really share that exact feeling that you were going through when that whatever happened. So after I state my observation, then I share how I was feeling because of that. Now remember, there's no blaming, there's no you made me feel. Nobody makes us feel anything. A situation happens and it brings things up inside of me. So how I was feeling. Then the next step is needs. Whenever anything happens and it brings up an emotion, it's actually coming to tell me what is a need that I either have fulfilled or not fulfilled. So when I have a need that is fulfilled, it will bring up a certain type of feeling. And when I have a need that is not fulfilled, that will also bring up a different kind of feeling. So when I have something coming up, then I need to ask myself, what is the underlying need that I have here? So maybe Tim sitting in the car, he feels like he's seen when Tammy comes on time. He feels like she knows that he's important to her and she's showing it to him by getting there on time because she knows that it's important. So what's his underlying need? He wants to be seen. He wants to feel like he's important to her. That's his need. So once he knows that that's his need, then we can get to the fourth step, which is a request. A request means that I could say how it would be more beneficial for me, and then next time that something like this would come up, because of that need that I have, I want to request from you, do you think that next time you could come on time? Now, when I request something from my partner, it's a request. It's not a demand. It's not saying, so you really need to get there on time because then it makes me feel better. No, that's not the way we go about it. It's a gift. And when there's a couple that each one cares about the other person, we both want to grow together. We both want to help the other person, help each of us get our needs and requests in order for us to be able to grow a better marriage. And sometimes I will be able to answer that request and I will be able to fulfill the request, and sometimes maybe not. But once the partner is coming in, Tim says to Tammy, for example, if we go back to our example, do you think that maybe next time we could try really hard to be there on time? It would really help me feel respected and seen and like I'm important to you and that this date is important to you. And once you go back to your feelings and your needs, your partner understands it's not that I'm not okay. It's not that he's blaming me. It's not that he's upset at me. It's that, yeah, we all have certain needs and we all have things that we need to do in order for us to be fulfilled in our relationship. And I want to help him also get to that place. So I'm going back. Number 1, observation. I say just as I see, like a camera. No interpretations. Number 2, feelings. I share how that made me feel. Number 3, needs. I understand what my underlying need is. What is it that I really need? Now you could dig deep. Tim could have said, I need us to leave on time. But is it really that he needs to leave on time, or is it something a little bit deeper? It usually is something deeper. If it's bringing up so much emotion, then it's something more underlying. And then after I'm able to recognize what my underlying need is, and I'm able to share that, then I could also share my request. How you as my partner can maybe help me in the next situation. At each one of these steps, we're eliminating the ability to argue. Because when I'm observing an observation that it's factual, there's nothing to argue with. She came into the car at 8:45, right? There's nothing to argue with that the dishes are still in the sink. There's nothing to argue with when I'm stating something that's just an observation. Then you can't argue over how somebody else is feeling. You can't say, you're not angry. Yeah, he is angry. You can't argue what feeling comes up for somebody else. Can you argue about what someone else's needs are? If somebody is sharing his genuine needs of what he needs, there's nothing to argue with. And you can't argue with a request. You could say, I don't think I could give you that. Or you could say, I don't think I could give you that all the time. Or you could say, I would really like to try and give you that request. And remember, and maybe you can remind me when I forget about this request that you have from me. So there's nothing to argue about. When we come to a conversation like this, instead of it becoming blaming and yelling at and getting angry at, it's okay, let me understand you and let me understand how I can help in this situation. Another thing that happens is when we learn to use these steps, there's no more room for judgment. I'm not busy thinking about how they weren't okay and how they should have done it differently. It's about turning inwards and saying, okay, 1 second, let's see what happens here. What's going on inside of me? Why did this situation make me so upset? What's going on inside of me that's unfulfilled? And then I'm able to go from a place of, instead of trying to solve the specific story or the specific circumstance, I'm looking for the deeper need. I'm finding what's really going on underneath. And then when a different situation happens, I'll be able to recognize, oh, hold on. I have a need for being seen, or, oh, hold on, I have a need for feeling respected or for feeling taken care of. Whatever it is that you feel that your need is, you're going to be able to recognize it in different situations and maybe even stop the bad feelings before that, because you recognize the need and then you're able to request, hey, hubby, listen up. I'm feeling in this situation right now like I'm totally not seen. Do you think maybe you could help me do X, Y, and Z so that I'd be able to feel like you're seeing me more in this situation? And then you're able to request it. Again, we're not demanding. It's a gift that he's giving to you. When I'm requesting something, I'm able to be so much more thankful for when it is done, because wow, he did what I requested from him because he loves me. He didn't have to. I didn't demand him of it. I wasn't threatening him. I requested it because that's what I found inside of me. I shared it with him and he loves me and did it for me. And then I'm so much more thankful for the times that he does do that for me. Now, Marshall Rosenberg, when he talks about nonviolent communication, he divides it up into two. He says that we have two different kinds of languages in the world. There's a giraffe language and a jackal language. Now, I'm not going to go deep into this. As I said, nonviolent communication is really a whole new world. And even as I'm explaining these 4 steps, there's so much more to dive deep into. So just, again, the tip of the iceberg. The giraffe language is, we'll start with the jackal language, actually. So the jackal language, he says, is the language that we are mostly conditioned to. That's the language most of us speak. The yelling language, the criticism, the blaming, the barking at. That's how he describes it. Any language that's barking at the other person, that's jackal language. When you're blaming, when you're competing, when you're comparing, when you're just judging, anything that sounds like someone's barking at you, that would be jackal language. Giraffe language, he says he uses giraffe because a giraffe has the biggest heart. So giraffe language is anything that comes from the heart. When you're really talking wholehearted, when you just want to be able to understand each other, when you want to connect to the other person, there could be really big differences between the both of you. There could be things that are really hurtful. But when you're able to talk in giraffe language, which needs to be acquired and you need to learn how to do it, but when you're able to talk in a giraffe language, even the really hard things can bring you to a place of connection. And I want to also add here that we need to learn how to talk this giraffe language, how to express ourselves with giraffe language. But not only do we need to learn how to talk giraffe language, we also have to learn to hear things with a big heart. We need to learn to hear things full of compassion, because when we're able to listen with these giraffe ears, so then we understand that anything that somebody does, it's because he has a need. There's a Hebrew saying that says, there's no such thing as a bad kid. There's a kid that's feeling bad inside. So, or I don't know, I didn't translate that so well. There's no such thing as a bad kid, but there's a kid that something's not feeling good inside. When a kid is not feeling great with himself, when there's something inside bothering him, then we might see an action outwards that seems kind of bad. So when any person acts to you in a way that might seem hurtful, instead of just going into a place of, wow, he was so not okay, and blaming and critical, nonviolent communication makes us turn inward and say, whoa, something must be going on with him. I wonder what his need is. Now, I can never guess what somebody else's need is because I don't know what their needs are. I could be guessing something which might be true and might not be true. But just the fact that I know that there's something underlying that's making a person act that way, it brings us so much more compassion. It brings us to a place of really not being judgmental to what's going on around us, because I don't know what his needs are. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know what he's feeling in that situation. And I'm able to look at the world with eyes of a giraffe, with eyes of compassion, look at the world so much more wholeheartedly. I actually had a situation with somebody who was in my life that it was very, very hard for me to hear their own jackal language all the time. I felt like they were always barking, they were always comparing, they were always insulting, they were always saying really hurtful things, and it would make me really upset at times. And then once I really tried to train myself, I don't like the word training so much, but I really tried to practice this language of nonviolent communication and to really condition myself with compassion, I really did become full of compassion towards this person because I understand that he has so many needs that are not being met. And I really felt full of compassion and love towards this person. Here in this episode, we were talking mainly about our marriage, but if we also do this with our kids, it can transform relationships. This is true for any relationship, not just our husbands and kids, but here we like talking about husbands and kids. So I want to just go back over those steps again because they really should be in your head. You could write them down, hang it up around your house, put it into your phone in a little note that you could remind yourself all the time. When I want to go and tell my husband something that's bothering me, when I want to share with him something about a difference between us, so I go through 1, observation, 2, feelings, 3, needs, and 4, my requests. I'm telling you, try it. It will transform your communication. In the beginning, it might really be very artificial. You might feel like it's not real, it's not genuine because you're like going through these steps. But once you start doing it, it will become very natural and you'll learn to really take away your own subjective view of things and really just share what your own experience is. You'll take away the criticism, you'll take away the blaming, you'll take away the guilt also because you understand that there's a need here that needs to be filled. And I just want to finish off by saying we all have needs that need to be filled. We're not just looking for relationships that each of us give each other whatever our needs are. We each need to be in our most happy place in order for us to be able to make our relationship the most happy place and in order to make this world the most happy place. So we all need to worry about our needs so that we could do good in this world, so that we could show up in this world in our best possible way in order to make this world a better place, in order to make our family, our home, a beautiful place of connection and love. And then that love will, I'm telling you, spread over into the world. So thanks for being here today. Feel free to message me if you want to share anything or send any question. And also, I would love to share with you, I'm so excited that we now have a new Facebook group. This group is going to be a tribe of moms that want to really be growth-minded and work hard to live in connection and love in their marriages and in their motherhood. So you could find us on Mama Marriage Bliss Tribe on Facebook. Fill in those questions, and I would love to see you in our tribe. Have a great day wherever you are. Sending you lots of love. Bye-bye.